Welcome back to Ask a Lawyer. I'm talking with Mark Avera today about auto accidents. Hello, Mark.
Good afternoon, Linda. Nice to be with you again.
Good to see you. It's summertime. People are going on vacations. They're going to be all over the United States, and accidents happen close to home. I think I remember a statistic about most of them happening close to home.
Most of them do.
And the ones that don't, though, if you are in Wisconsin and you're in a car accident but your home is here, should they still call their local attorney?
Well, the first thing they need to do is to get the accident documented. Lots of folks believe if they're in a motor vehicle accident where they're not at fault, that they don't need to call their own insurance company. The fact of the matter is, anytime you're in a motor vehicle accident, no matter how minimal it might be, you should always call your own insurance company and make them aware. Get a claim number, get the name of the person you spoke with, so there's no question that you did give your automobile insurance company notification of the crash, and provide them with a copy of the crash report or any other documentation that the other driver or the investigating agency gives you as a result of the investigation.
And this is pretty much status quo throughout the United States. Wherever you are, you want to go through that same process.
That's just good common sense wherever you are. If you're traveling with a family and you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, it doesn't matter whether you're in South Florida, Gainesville, or Alaska. You need to call your own insurance company and let them know you've been involved in a motor vehicle crash.
You mentioned a moment ago, even if it's minimal. I think when people often are in a car accident and they don't feel too bad right then, or they're sort of in shock, and they feel like they don't need to call an attorney, that they just go ahead and, they'll feel better, and then a week later or something, their neck goes out and they're back. And so what's the process that they should go through as a cautionary?
Well, case in point, I just got a phone call from a friend this past week that was on a bicycle and was struck by a car. The other driver convinced her that they didn't need to call the police, that she'd take care of everything, and of course they don't call the police, and she has to go to the emergency room and be treated, and now has a suspected head injury, and she has very little information about the opposing driver. There's nothing documented by a law enforcement agency because they didn't respond to the scene. So those are the kinds of problems that can arise. If you make the decision to not call law enforcement and have them investigate the crash, then you better hope that everything comes out okay, because you might not have the information you need to even prove that an accident happened there at a particular intersection at a particular time of the day.
How does the law work? Are you supposed to call no matter what kind of an accident it is, or if it just seems like a little bump, then you just keep going? Where do you draw the line?
Well, obviously with major property damage or injuries involved, law enforcement has to be notified. But there are all kinds of other accidents that you'd like to have documented. Parking lot accidents, exchange of driver's information. There may not be an accident report done, but at least there's documentation that a police service technician came to the scene or an investigating officer, where information is exchanged between the drivers, addresses, names, dates of birth, driver's license number, insurance information, to demonstrate that this is where the accident happened on what day, and law enforcement responded. So it's always a good idea to call, but obviously in those serious cases, law enforcement has to be notified.
So in the case that you just mentioned where the woman was hit on her bicycle, did she not feel hurt at first? Did she feel like she was okay?
Well, she knew she was hurt. She just didn't think she had been hurt that badly. She hit her head, and she probably was knocked out for a brief period of time and was seen at the emergency room and had CAT scans, and the other driver asked her not to call the insurance company, and so she didn't. A better course of conduct would have been to go ahead and call law enforcement, notify the insurance companies involved that the accident took place.
Because the person could have been driving under the influence, or there could have been any number of things going on, right?
Well, better safe than sorry. If you end up being fine with little or no property damage and no injury, then there's no harm, no foul in calling law enforcement and insurance companies. But if the opposite happens, if you do have an injury, or you need to know who that other driver is and who their insurance company is, well, now you have the information. So the better course is always to call and get it documented.
Very often people are hesitant about calling an attorney. So if you're having that borderline kind of decision, it's better to make the call, find out what's going on, and...
Sure, I find lots of people are very reluctant to call because they're a little intimidated by what the process is, and only when they come in and we get a chance to sit down with them and they see that I'm very easy to talk to, do they feel more comfortable. The best thing to do is to just call if you have questions. You typically, in contingency cases where The lawyers are not paid unless they make a recovery on behalf of the person who's injured, and those are typically the type of arrangements in motor vehicle accidents. A lawyer would be happy to answer questions for you over the telephone, may even agree to sit down with you in the office and chat with you about your case if you need to get some questions answered. It never hurts to call.
Then you can feel more comfortable with the decision that you've made one way or the other as far as how far to carry the case. But otherwise you just end up worrying about it and thinking about it and should I have called an attorney? And
yeah, don't worry about it. Go ahead and call. And we go back to the questions that I had in another segment we did about finding out who the lawyer is, how many times he or she has actually been to court and actually tried a case to a jury verdict. Insurance companies know the lawyers that try cases and the ones that don't, the ones who are board certified in civil trial lawyer and the ones that aren't. Ask those kinds of questions. Ask any question that you have. In this process, particularly if you've never been through anything like this before, most people have not, there's no such thing as a dumb question. People need to know how it works and where do they go. And that's what a lawyer is there for, to guide them.
thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back.